The sirens had been screaming for hours before Mira finally understood they weren't drills. They rose and fell like wounded animals somewhere beyond the concrete skyline, echoing through alleys thick with smoke and the metallic smell of blood. Neon signs flickered above abandoned streets, K-pop posters peeling off walls as if even the idols were trying to escape. Mira clutched the strap of her backpack tighter, her other arm wrapped around baby Mira, warm, small, terrifyingly fragile against a world that had gone feral overnight. The first scream she heard wasn't from a zombie. It was human, raw, close. Mira ran. Her boots slapped against wet pavement as she darted through a shattered market street. Overturned carts spilled rice and vegetables that no one would ever cook. Phones buzzed uselessly on the ground, alarms ringing into emptiness. Somewhere behind her came the sound she'd learned to fear in less than a day, ragged breathing mixed with a wet, clicking growl. Not fast, not yet, but relentless. Baby Mira whimpered. I know, Mira whispered, heart hammering so hard it felt like it might crack her ribs. I've got you. I won't let anything happen to you. She ducked into a narrow alley just as a body slammed into a glass storefront behind her. The window shattered with a gunshot crack, shards spraying like ice. A figure tumbled through, rolling across the floor, then rose again, wrong. Jaw hanging at an angle it shouldn't. Eyes clouded, hungry. Mira didn't look back. The alley ended in a rusted fire door. She threw her shoulder into it, pain exploding through her arm, but it gave way. Inside was darkness and the heavy smell of dust and mold. She slammed the door shut and dragged a metal shelf in front of it just as fists began pounding from the other side. Bang, bang, bang. The shelf rattled. Baby Mira started to cry in earnest now, sharp and panicked. Mira dropped to her knees, bouncing her gently, tears blurring her vision. Shush, please, she begged, though she didn't know who she was begging, her baby, the universe, or whatever gods might still be listening. The pounding stopped. Silence followed, thick and suffocating. Mira held her breath. Seconds stretched into minutes. Her arms burned, her legs trembled, but she didn't move. When no growls followed, she dared to look around. It was a rehearsal studio. Mirrors lined one wall, cracked but still reflecting a distorted version of herself. Hair tangled, face streaked with grime, eyes wide with terror. Dance mats were scattered across the floor, speakers overturned, cables like black snakes coiled everywhere. Posters of a girl group stared down at her, smiling brightly, untouched by the apocalypse. The irony almost made her laugh. Almost. She slid down against the wall and finally allowed herself to breathe. Baby Mira's cries softened into hiccuping sobs, then quieted as exhaustion took over. Mira pressed her lips to the baby's forehead. You're safe, she whispered, even though she wasn't sure it was true. A faint thud echoed from above. Mira froze. Another sound followed, footsteps. Light, controlled, human. She scrambled to her feet, heart racing all over again. Zombies dragged. They stumbled. These steps were deliberate. A shadow crossed the cracked glass of the studio door. Then a voice, low, calm, unmistakably alive. Don't scream. We're not infected. Mira swallowed hard. She tightened her grip on the backpack strap, scanning for anything she could use as a weapon. A broken mic stand lay nearby. She grabbed it just as the door creaked open. 3 figures stepped inside. They moved like dancers even now, balanced, alert, perfectly in sync. Black combat gear hugged their frames, reinforced with glowing symbols that pulsed faintly blue. Each carried weapons that looked half military, half ancient. Blades etched with runes. A crossbow humming softly with energy. At the center was a woman with short silver hair and eyes sharp enough to cut glass. Her gaze flicked to Mira. Then to the baby. Something shifted in her expression. Clear, one of the others said quietly, scanning the mirrors. No biters. The silver-haired woman lowered her weapon. Hey, she said gently, like the world wasn't ending outside. You okay? Mira didn't answer. She couldn't. Her throat locked up, fear and relief crashing into each other so hard her knees almost buckled. The woman stepped closer, hands open. My name's Jaeun. We're demon hunters. Mira almost laughed at that too. Zombies were real now, why not demon hunters? They're everywhere, Mira finally whispered. They're eating people. Jaeun nodded. Yeah, we know. Another hunter, tall with dark curls and blood smeared across her cheek, crouched beside a window. We tracked a horde through this district. Infection rates insane. The third, quiet, eyes glowing faintly gold, knelt in front of Mira. The baby, she said softly. How old? 6 months, Mira replied, instinctively angling her body protectively. The golden-eyed hunter smiled faintly. She's strong. Still breathing. That's good. A distant explosion rocked the building. Dust rained from the ceiling. Baby Mira stirred, letting out a small cry. Jaehoon straightened instantly. That's too close. We need to move. Now. Mira's heart sank. Move where? To our safe zone, Jaehoon said. It's fortified. Clean. We've got power. Food. Doctors. Doctors. The word felt like a miracle. But fear flared again. What if you're lying? Jaehoon met her eyes without flinching. Then we would have taken you already. That logic was terrifyingly sound. Another roar echoed outside, louder, closer. Not the slow groan of the infected. This one was deeper, angrier. The golden-eyed hunter stiffened. Alpha's nearby. Of course it is, the curly-haired one muttered. They're evolving faster than we thought. Mira's blood went cold. Alpha. Jaehoon cursed under her breath. Big one. Smart. Leads the others. As if summoned by the word, the wall behind them shuddered. A massive shape slammed against the building, cracking brick. A clawed hand burst through, fingers too long, skin stretched tight over muscle. Baby Mira screamed. Time's up, Jaehoon said sharply. She looked at Mira. Can you run? Mira nodded, though her legs felt like jelly. Good. Stay between us. Whatever happens, don't stop. The hunters moved fast, fluid as choreography. One kicked open a back door. Another hurled a glowing sigil down the hallway. It exploded into light, incinerating 3 zombies that had been creeping closer. They burst into the street. Chaos. Zombies flooded from every direction, dozens of them, drawn by sound and movement. Cars burned. Buildings collapsed. Overhead, helicopters lay crashed like dead insects. The Alpha emerged from the smoke. It was huge, twice the size of a normal human, muscles bulging grotesquely, eyes burning an unnatural red. It roared, and the horde responded as one. Mira screamed as Jaehoon shoved her forward. Run. They ran. The world blurred. Mira barely felt her feet hit the ground. Shots rang out behind her, mixed with the metallic hum of demon blades slicing through infected flesh. One zombie lunged from the side. Jaehoon took its head off mid-air without breaking stride. Left. Someone shouted. They veered into a subway entrance. Stairs collapsed under their weight, but the hunters caught Mira before she fell. Baby Mira cried, her tiny hands clutching Mira's jacket like she understood everything. The Alpha charged after them, smashing through barriers with terrifying ease. The golden-eyed hunter spun, drawing symbols in the air. Light flared, slamming into the Alpha's chest. It staggered, but didn't fall. It's resisting, she yelled. Jaehoon swore. Then we don't fight it here. They burst onto a platform where an old train sat waiting, doors open like a miracle. One by one they shoved Mira inside. As Mira stumbled into the carriage, clutching baby Mira to her chest, she looked back. The Alpha leapt. Jaehoon met it head-on, blades crossed, eyes blazing. The doors slammed shut. The train jolted into motion. Mira collapsed onto the floor, sobbing as baby Mira cried with her. Through the grimy window, she caught one last glimpse of Jaehoon standing alone on the platform, facing the monster as the tunnel swallowed them both in darkness. Mira didn't know if the demon hunter would survive. She only knew one thing. The apocalypse wasn't just about zombies anymore, and baby Mira was now part of something far bigger than either of them had ever imagined. The train screamed through the tunnel like a living thing in pain. Mira lay on the cold metal floor, arms wrapped around baby Mira as if her body alone could shield her from the end of the world. The lights flickered violently, plunging the carriage into darkness and back again. Each flash revealed terrified faces, survivors packed tight, some injured, some praying, some staring blankly as if their souls had already fled. Baby Mira's cries softened into weak whimpers, her tiny chest fluttering too fast. It's okay, Mira whispered over and over, rocking her gently. Mom is here. Mom is here. The train lurched hard, throwing people against poles and seats. Somewhere toward the front, a woman shouted commands, her voice sharp and controlled. Mira recognized it instantly. Jaehoon. Alive. Relief hit Mira so hard she almost collapsed again. The doors between carriages slammed open, and Jaeun staggered inside, blood streaking her armor, silver hair matted with sweat and dust. The other demon hunters followed, bruised, breathing hard, but moving. All of them alive. The doors sealed shut behind them just as a deafening roar echoed through the tunnel, followed by the screech of metal tearing against concrete. The Alpha slammed into the back of the train. The entire carriage shook. Screams erupted. Jaeun braced herself against a pole, eyes blazing. "Everyone stay down," she shouted. "It can't get in if the seals hold." Another impact. Stronger. The lights died completely this time. In the darkness, baby Mira began to cry again, thin, exhausted, frightened. Mira pressed her forehead to her baby's, tears spilling freely now. "Please," she whispered. "Please don't let this be the end." A faint golden glow bloomed nearby. The golden-eyed hunter knelt beside them, her palms hovering inches above baby Mira. Symbols shimmered softly in the air. "She's reacting," the hunter murmured, astonished. "Her energy, it's resonating." Mira blinked through tears. "What does that mean?" Before the hunter could answer, the Alpha struck again. Crash! The back wall of the train buckled inward. Metal screamed. A claw punched through, ripping cables loose. Sparks exploded, raining fire. The Alpha's eye appeared through the hole, red, intelligent, furious. Panic broke loose. Jaeun spun, drawing her blades. "We're not outrunning it," she said tightly. "We end this. Now." "We can't," the curly-haired hunter yelled. "The baby." "I know," Jaeun snapped. Then she looked at Mira. Their eyes locked. "Can you trust me?" Jaeun asked. Mira hesitated only a heartbeat. Then she nodded. "Yes." Jaeun exhaled sharply. "Good." She turned to the golden-eyed hunter. "Unha. Do it." Unha's eyes widened. "She's just a child. So was the world," Jaeun replied grimly. "And look what happened to it." Another claw tore the hole wider. The Alpha's head forced through, jaws snapping inches from screaming survivors. Unha swallowed, then placed both hands gently on baby Mira's chest. The glow intensified. Baby Mira went silent. For one horrifying second, Mira thought something had gone wrong. She reached forward instinctively. Then the air exploded. A shockwave of pure golden light blasted outward, slamming into the Alpha with a sound like a thunderclap. The monster shrieked, a sound so full of pain and rage that the walls of the tunnel vibrated. The train surged forward violently as if pushed by an invisible force. The Alpha was torn away, smashed backward down the tracks, its roar fading into the distance. Silence followed. The light dimmed. Baby Mira blinked up at Mira, eyes wide and clear, then yawned. Mira broke. She sobbed openly now, clutching her baby, shaking with relief and terror and disbelief. Unha pulled her hands back slowly, staring. She channeled it, she whispered. Without training, without fear. Jaeun stared too, something like awe crossing her face. "She's not just resistant," she said quietly. "She's a conduit." "What are you saying?" Mira demanded, heart pounding again. "I'm saying," Jaeun replied, "your daughter just saved everyone on this train." The survivors stared at baby Mira with a mixture of fear, hope, and reverence. Mira tightened her hold protectively. "She's just a baby." Jaeun nodded. "I know. And that's why we have to protect her." The train finally screeched to a halt deep underground. Massive reinforced doors slid open, revealing a vast hidden station flooded with light. Armed guards rushed forward, scanning for threats, then helping the injured. "Welcome to Safe Zone Echo," someone announced. Mira barely registered it. Her world had narrowed to the small warm weight in her arms and the terrifying truth settling into her bones. They escorted her into a medical wing carved into the rock itself. Doctors examined baby Mira gently, running scans that Mira didn't recognize. Screens filled with symbols and data, all of it meaningless to her except for one thing. Baby Mira was healthy. Perfectly healthy. "She shows no signs of infection," a doctor said in disbelief. "In fact, her cellular regeneration is off the charts." Mira sank into a chair, exhausted beyond words. Jaeun stood nearby, arms crossed, watching through the glass like a guardian statue. Later, how much later, Mira didn't know, Jaeun finally approached. "We need to talk," she said softly. Mira nodded, bracing herself. Jaeun crouched so they were eye level. "The virus didn't come alone," she began. "It opened a door. Demons, parasites, things that shouldn't exist, they followed. We've been fighting them for months in secret. The zombies are just the surface. And my baby? Mira asked. Jaehoon hesitated. Some people are born with latent energy. Rare. Powerful. Your daughter, she's something else. Mira felt cold. You're not taking her. Jaehoon shook her head immediately. No. Never. But others will come for her. Demons. Humans. Anyone desperate enough to believe she's the answer. Mira looked down at baby Mira, sleeping peacefully, unaware that the fate of the world had brushed against her tiny hands. What do I do? Mira whispered. Jaehoon straightened, resolve hardening her features. You stay here. You learn to survive. And when the time comes, if the time comes, we'll teach her how to protect herself. And if I say no? Jaehoon met her gaze steadily. Then we'll still protect you. But the world won't stop trying to break in. Mira closed her eyes. Above them, alarms suddenly blared again. A guard rushed in. Jaehoon. Multiple breaches on the upper levels. Alpha class signatures, plural. Jaehoon cursed. They've adapted. Mira stood, clutching baby Mira tighter. Fear surged, but beneath it, something else stirred. Strength. If they're coming for her, Mira said, voice shaking but firm, then they'll have to go through me. Jaehoon looked at her, then smiled, small, fierce, proud. That's the spirit. Outside, the underground base shook as another roar echoed through the city above. The zombie apocalypse had become something far darker. But for the first time since the world ended, Mira wasn't just running. She was ready to fight. And in her arms, baby Mira slept on, glowing faintly, quietly, like hope the darkness had failed to kill.